Yeah, brothers and sisters, before we begin, please recite Surah Fatiha for your marhumin and for the marhumin of those individuals that provided tonight's iftar, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسكنهم بجوار محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصي نعمه العادون ولا يودي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان أرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we are commemorating these nights in regards to the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and I said that we're going to just look at the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and we're going to not just look at Imam Ali alayhi salam the way that most of us understand Imam Ali. The way that most of us understand Imam Ali alayhi salam is that we know who his father is, we know who his mother is, we know who his sons are, we know who his father-in-law is. Hatta Salman or Abu Zar, he came to the Holy Prophet, and as soon as Amir al-Mu'mineen walked through the door, the Holy Prophet, he gets up and he kisses Amir al-Mu'mineen on the forehead, and he asks Abu Zar, do you know who this man is? Do you know this man? Abu Zar, he replies the same thing most of us would reply. He says, Ya Rasulullah, this is Ali ibn Abi Talib. His sons are the Jawanan of Jannat. His sons are the princes of Jannat. He is the husband of Batul. He is your son-in-law, and he is the son of Abu Talib. That's when the Holy Prophet, he looks at Abu Zar, he tells him, Abu Zar, he's more than this. He's more than this. He goes on to say, it's a very long hadith, inshallah, in the next coming days we'll look into it, but one of the things that he goes on to say is, he says, Abu Zar, you have to realize that this Ali ibn Abi Talib, he's hijabullah. He is the hijab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He goes on to say that there's nothing that separates him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except himself, meaning that he is that final hijab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is who Ali ibn Abi Talib is in the eyes of the Holy Prophet. That is who the esoteric Ali is. And that's what we need to understand. Because all of these prayers that we do in the month of Ramadan or outside of the month of Ramadan, they become useless if we don't understand Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. They become useless if we don't have the wila of Amir al-Mu'mineen in our heart. Hatta the verse of the Quran, what is salat supposed to keep you away from? Fahsha and munkar. Thank you so much. The Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, he says, as-salat tanha anil fahsha wal munkar. Salat, prayer, is supposed to keep you away from fahsha and munkar. Fahsha are what? Those sins that are done openly. Munkar are considered, according to ulama, those sins that are done privately or that are hidden. I ask everyone, after you pray, Is there anyone that after they pray they don't commit hidden sins? The Quran, it says that salat is supposed to keep you away from open indecencies and hidden indecencies. Open indecencies, for example, drinking, for example, music, for example, going to clubs, for all of these are openly done. Salat, it keeps an individual away from this stuff. Not just this stuff, but also the hidden sins. Are there people that can truly say, yes, after I've prayed, I don't commit these hidden indecencies? No. If we were, then we'd consider ourselves to be infallible. We'd consider ourselves to be masoom. So what is this salat that keeps an individual away from open sins and hidden sins? One, what are this fahsha wal munkar? What is this fahsha wal munkar? Because yes, it has the apparent meaning, but it also has a hidden meaning. A companion, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he asked the Holy Imam, Ya ibn Nasrullah, what is this fahsha? What is this munkar? What are these? The first thing Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says in regards to fahsha wal munkar, he says the first thing, it's our enemies, the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. Wherever the Quran speaks about fahsha, whenever the Quran speaks about munkar, it's our enemies first and foremost. It's our enemies. First and foremost, it's our enemies, and then the drinking of wine, the drinking of all of this, intoxicants, all of this. But first and foremost, it's our enemies. This is, look at the reason. Connect this hadith of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam to what the Holy Prophet says. Where the Holy Prophet says that without the wila of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, your salat is useless. Without the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, your prayer is useless. Why is it useless? Because it doesn't do anything. The Quran, it says that it's supposed to keep you away from all these indecent acts. The Ahlul Bayt, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that the first and foremost indecent act is our enemies. How will you know if your salat was accepted? How will you know if your salat was accepted? If you keep away from these indecent acts, then you will know that your salat is accepted. So who stays away from these indecent acts? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, what does he say by this hadith? What does he mean? He means when you want to know if your salat has been accepted, look at yourself. Have you stayed away from our enemies? If you've stayed away from our enemies, then know that your prayer has been accepted. Know that your prayer has been accepted. Why? Because when it comes to drinking, there's so many Muslims that don't drink. They don't drink. When it comes to gambling, there's so many Muslims that don't gamble. And when it comes to all of these, zina, there's so many Muslims that don't commit zina. But when it comes to all of these other things, we engaged in them. Whether you want to call them minor sins, whether you want to call them hidden sins, we engage in them. So if we engage in these types of sins, then our prayer is becoming useless. This is why Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the first fahsha and munkar is our enemies. The first. And without that salat, what is that salat? I'll ask another question. Does this salat that we pray, does it keep us away from our enemies? Or the enemies of Ahlul Bayt? How many Shias are there? Shias, now we're going closer, closing that circle. How many Shias are there? They'll pray their salat, but then when they're out in the world, they're with the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt. Meaning they're mingling with them, meaning they're meeting them. How many Shias are there? A lot. So then what was the point of this salat? This is why Amir al-Mu'mineen, inshallah we'll get to that sermon of Amir al-Mu'mineen where he says when the Quran speaks about salat, I am that salat. If you've upheld my wilayat, then you've upheld the prayers. What does that mean? That means that when you hold on to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he is that salat, he is that prayers that keeps you away from his enemies. Why? Because who knows the enemies of Ali ibn Abi Talib better than him? Better than him. Many of us, we might think Imam Ali just has one type of enemy, those people that hate him. No, but in reality, Imam Ali has two types. Two types. One are those individuals that hate Amir al-Mu'mineen, that Imam Ali considers them to be his enemies. The others that exaggerate Amir al-Mu'mineen to the point where they believe him or they take him to the status of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the eyes of Imam Ali, both of these are considered to be his enemies. Why? Because one individual has brought Imam Ali lower than themselves. Another individual has taken Imam Ali further than he needs to be. This is why it becomes necessary for us to understand who the enemies of Imam Ali alayhi salam is. But when it comes to Imam Ali alayhi salam, I said that we were going to look at Imam Ali alayhi salam, and we're going to look at his biography and compare his biography to the biography of some of the other companions who claim to be Khalifa of Rasulullah. Does the Islamic Ummah not understand what it means to be a Khalifa? Being a Khalifa is not just something that is given to people. Khalifa is not chosen by us. Khalifa is chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you take away the choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you put in your own choice, what have you done now? You've committed kufr, you've committed shirk. How? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already decided on a manner. What have you done? No, I don't like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so I'm going to do what I want to do. As soon as you say that, what have you done? You've brought your own ra, you've brought your own opinion to that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's law. And as soon as you do that, you cease to be Muslim, you leave the fold of Islam. And this is what the majority of Muslims had done when it came to the right of Amir al-Mu'minin al-Islam. Hatta there were so many people, Christians and Jews, they came to Abu Bakr as soon as he became Khalifa, asking him questions. Asking him questions. They even went as far as to say, if you truly are the successor of the Prophet, then you would have an answer to our questions. You would have an answer to our questions. Abu Bakr, he didn't have answers. Hatta there was a Christian delegation that came, and the narration where I'm reading this from is Hashim Bahrani's Mu'jizat Ala Muhammad, or Madinat al-Ma'ajiz in Arabic. In English, it's also been translated. Please, the brothers and sisters who do not understand Arabic, Urdu, Farsi, download it in English. Find it in English. It's called The City of Miracles. Miracle of Amir al-Mu'minin. It has miracles of all the Imams, miracles of all the Imams, from Imam Ali all the way to the 12th Imam. A delegation of Christians, they came. Abu Bakr had just been Khalifa for a few days. And they come to Abu Bakr and they say, look, we left, me and my group, we left, but by the time we got here, we left knowing that there was an individual who claimed to be prophet here in Medina. When we found out and we left, by the time we got here, now we hear that he's passed away. Who's the successor? Umar ibn Khattab, he was right next to Abu Bakr. Instead of replying to that question, the question was, who is the successor? What does he say? He says, this year Abu Bakr is the Khalifa. This year Abu Bakr is the Khalifa. So the Christian priest, he asked Abu Bakr a few questions. One of the first questions that he asked is, how do you know that you're on the right path? 1. 2, if you claim that you're on the right path, is this claim from yourself or is this claim from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? 3, what do you say about me? He was a Christian. What do you say about me? Abu Bakr, when he answers the first question, he says, look, I know that I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim, and you're considered to be non-Muslim. Abu Bakr, then he answers, he says, look, when I say that I'm a Muslim, this is my own opinion. I don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks about me. This is my opinion. I don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks about me. And then the Christian asks, what about me? He goes, you're a non-Muslim. And I don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks about you either. Then the Christian asks the Muslim, he considers himself to be Muslim. The Christian asks him, do you know for a fact that you'll go to heaven? Do you know for a fact that he's claimed to be Muslim now. Do you know for a fact that you'll go to heaven? Abu Bakr replies, no, I don't know for a fact that I'll go to heaven. I'm not sure if I'll go to heaven. And then he asked about himself, do you know for a fact that I'll go to hell? Abu Bakr goes, no, I don't know. I don't know if you'll go to hell. So then the Christian priest, he goes, tell me, I came here wanting to accept Islam. You claim to be the successor to the prophet, the final prophet. You don't even know if you will go to heaven. You don't even know if you will go to heaven. And even though I'm a Christian, you don't even know if I'll go to hell. What makes you better than me? What makes a Muslim better than a Christian? Simple. This was just simple. Umar ibn Khattab, he's next to Abu Bakr, he gets mad at the Christian priest. He gets mad at him. And he says to him, how dare you ask this question? You've just come here to stir up trouble. Salman Farsi, he was in that group. He waited. When this Christian priest was spoken to by Umar ibn Khattab this way, he looks at Abu Bakr and he goes, is this how the Muslims are? Is this the ummah of the final messenger? This is the way they treat people that have come to seek guidance, to seek the truth? Salman, he leaves from that congregation, he goes to Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam. He tells Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, this group has come and they've done this. Abu Bakr and Umar, they could not answer these questions. Can you come and help? Amir al-Mu'mineen, with that hesitation, he comes. And he says to that group, ask me whatever you want. Ask me whatever you want. The first question he asks, are you the true successor to the Holy Prophet? Amir al-Mu'mineen goes, what's the question that you have? My first question is, are you certain about your faith? The same question that he posed to Abu Bakr, he poses to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Are you certain about your faith? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes, I am 100% certain about my faith. I have no doubt in my faith. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about your faith? Does he think that you're on the right path? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that I'm on the right path. Here, Abu Bakr didn't even know he was on the right path. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's claiming that he's certain that he's on the right path. That's when this Christian, he says, yes, now I know that I'm speaking to the right person. Now I know that I'm speaking to the right person. The same questions that were posed to Abu Bakr, those same questions are posed to Amir al-Mu'mineen. By the end, this Christian, he says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, how can I know that you're truly the successor to the Holy Prophet? After this long conversation, how can I know that you're truly the successor to the Holy Prophet? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him something. He says, when you left your city, you left with the intention of defaming Islam. When you left with the intention of defaming Islam. But when you got to a certain place, you went to sleep. When you went to sleep, you saw in your dream that an individual was telling you, when you get to Medina, you'll meet Ali ibn Abi Talib, who's the true successor of the Holy Prophet. I want you to accept him as your successor. I want you to accept him as the successor to the final prophet. And I want you to accept Islam on his hands. Did that happen or no? This Christian, he says, Ya Ali, no one knows this except for me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that you have told me this, I know for a fact that you are the true and rightful successor to the final messenger. Can you put out your hand so I can recite the Shahada? It wasn't just La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. He goes further and he says, Ya Ali, I testify that you are the true successor to the Holy Prophet. Who's he doing this in front of? Is it just one or two Muslims? No, he's doing it in front of that individual who considers himself to be the Khalifa of Rasulullah. He does it in front of him. Umar gets mad again. He gets mad again. When he gets mad, he tells them, this time, now you've accepted Islam. If you go and tell anything about what happened here, I will make sure to kill you. This was how Umar dealt with everything. This is how he dealt with it. And you see today, those Muslims that follow in his footsteps, this is the same way they deal with everything. You either accept what I tell you to accept, or I will kill you. You see that today. This was the Amir al-Mu'mineen. If you want to know the true Amir al-Mu'mineen, another miracle of Amir al-Mu'mineen, everyone has heard so many times about when the Holy Prophet was praying. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he comes and he goes on top of the Holy Prophet's back. When the Holy Prophet was in sajda. Correct? Everyone. Since we were children, we hear about this. It's amazing when it comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen. It's either for Imam Ali alayhi salam that the Holy Prophet is pausing his prayer, or it's for his sons that he's pausing his prayer. What do I mean? Amir al-Mu'mineen, and this Sahib Madinatul Ma'ajiz, he gets this narration from Sunni sources. From Sunni sources. The Holy Prophet, and it's coming from Malik ibn Anas, where he himself, he says that we were following the Holy Prophet in our Asr prayer. While we were following the Holy Prophet in our Asr prayer, the Holy Prophet, he's in ruku. he continues to say Subhana Rabbiyal Azimi wa bihamdih, Subhana Rabbiyal Azimi wa bihamdih, to the point where we thought that the Holy Prophet was making a mistake. To the point that we thought that the Holy Prophet was making, why? Because he would not raise his head. He would not say Sami Allahu liman hamida. So we thought that the Holy Prophet was making a mistake. No, that wasn't the case. What was the case? Malik, he says, the Holy Prophet, he ended up finishing his prayer. He said Sami Allahu liman hamida, and then he quickly finished the rest of the prayer. Then he turned around and he asked where Ali ibn Abi Talib is. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he wasn't in the first rows. He was in the back rows. When he was in the back rows, when he hears that the Holy Prophet's calling him, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes forward. When he comes forward, the Holy Prophet, he asks Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, why were you in the back? Why were you in the back? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm sorry for being in the back, but I was late for Salat. I was late for Salat. The Holy Prophet, he goes, what happened? Amir al-Mu'mineen goes, Ya Rasulullah, I went home. When I went home, there wasn't anyone to give me water for wuzu. When there wasn't anyone for water for wuzu, I wanted to do wuzu and come. And I could, at that time, you would have to go out to the well to gather water. There was no pipes that would come into the houses. So as I was thinking about this, I see in the corner of the house that there's a bucket. And on that bucket, there is like a towel. And in that, I lift up that towel and I see water that I've never seen before. The type of water I've never seen before. This water is more clear than the water that we have. And there's a must that's coming from this water. Ya Rasulullah, I did wuzu with that water and I came. By the time I came, you were in ruku. The Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Ali, I don't know. This is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not allow me to come up from my ruku. Why? Because Mikael, he was holding on to my knees and would not allow me to come up from my ruku until you came and joined this jama'at. You came and joined this jama'at. But that's not what the fazilat of Amir al-Mu'mineen is. The fazilat of Amir al-Mu'mineen actually lies if you know what the meaning of all of these parts of the namaz are. If you truly know what the meaning. Amir al-Mu'mineen himself, he says, the takbiratul ihram, it has a meaning. The act of takbiratul ihram, it has a meaning. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes on to say that the ruku, it has a meaning. When you get up from ruku, it has a meaning. When you do your first sajda, it has a meaning. When you get up from your first sajda, it has a meaning. When you do your second sajda, it has a completely different meaning. When you get up from your second sajda, it has a different meaning. When you're saying your tahshahud, it has a meaning. When you're saying your salam, it has a meaning. The significance of the Holy Prophet being in ruku, what is the significance of that? If you knew what the meaning of ruku was, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he looks at that person and goes, if you don't know the interpretation of the salat, then you haven't done your salat. Do you know what the interpretation of ruku is? When he was asked this question, the man says, no, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I don't know. Amir al-Mu'mineen says the interpretation of ruku, when you go onto your knees and you say, Subhana Rabbiyal Azimi wa bihamdih, when you put out your neck, that is to signify that you're letting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know that you're ready to sever your head for Allah's cause. That's to signify that you're ready to sever your head for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's cause. That's what the ruku means. Do you know what it means? Amir al-Mu'mineen goes on to say, when you're saying Sami Allahu liman hamida, do you know what that means? He's saying that that's to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing you into existence from non-existence. For bringing you into existence from non-existence. In what position is the Holy Prophet when Amir al-Mu'mineen was joining the ruku? The Holy Prophet was in the position of ruku. Meaning what? Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Holy Prophet, from one aspect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, you're going to keep this neck in this position to let people know, to let me know that you're able or you want to sever this neck for my cause until Ali ibn Abi Talib joins your prayer. From another aspect, not allowing Imam or not allowing the Holy Prophet to come up. What does that coming up from ruku signify? It signifies thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing an individual from non-existence to existence. The fact that Amir al-Mu'mineen had not joined that salat yet tells you what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want the Holy Prophet to thank him for bringing him, the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from non-existence to existence until Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Islam came. Until Amir al-Mu'mineen came and joined. This is the fazilat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And when people hear these types of fazail of Imam Ali alayhi salam, what do they say? We're exaggerating. We're exaggerating. These are the same people that say we're exaggerating. If you were to look at their family tree, it would probably lead to those same individuals that told the Holy Prophet that he exaggerates in relation to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Because this isn't some new phenomenon now. No, this is old. Even in the time of the Holy Prophet, they used to say the Holy Prophet, hatta they gave the Holy Prophet what name? They used to call the Holy Prophet Uzun, meaning ear. Meaning ear. Why? Because whatever Imam Ali alayhi salam would tell the Holy Prophet would accept it to be true. The Holy Prophet would accept whatever Amir al-Mu'mineen told him, he'd accept it to be true. And why wouldn't he accept it to be true? When Amir al-Mu'mineen is part of those individuals that Ayat al-Tathir was revealed for. When it comes to Ayat al-Tathir, what does rijs signify? Is it just bodily najasa? No. Rijs is spiritual najasa and bodily najasa. Spiritual najasa and bodily. Lying is what? A spiritual najasa. Lying is a spiritual najasa. So when it comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the spiritual najasa has been kept far away from him. It's not that he was kept far away from it. It has been kept far away from him. Najasat has been kept far away from them. What does it tell you about how pure they are? This was Amir al-Mu'mineen. And yet you have Shias today, they question Imam Ali alayhi salam. You look at Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he's the one who asked Imam Ali, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Hazrat Sulaiman, he had prayed for a kingdom like no other. Salman Farsi is there, Imam Hassan alayhi salam is there, Abu Zar is there, Miqdad, these individuals are there. And who's asking the question? Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Prophet Sulaiman was given a kingdom like no other. Like no other. Is your kingdom greater than Prophet Sulaiman's? Is your kingdom greater than Prophet Sulaiman's? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells Imam Hassan and everyone that was there, do you all want to see my kingdom? They all say, yes, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we want to see your kingdom. The narration, it states that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he called down 2 clouds. All the individuals, they sat on one cloud, Amir al-Mu'mineen sitting on another cloud. And he tells the cloud to go back up. When it goes back up, Salman, he says that I'm looking at Amir al-Mu'mineen and he looks like he's sitting on a throne. I'm looking at Amir al-Mu'mineen, he looks like he's sitting on a throne. And I'm just engrossed in what type of individual, what Amir al-Mu'mineen is. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, do you have the ring of Sulaiman? Imam Ali alayhi salam, he takes out the ring of Sulaiman and he shows them the ring of Sulaiman. When he shows them the ring of Hazrat Sulaiman, it has the inscription of Muhammad wa Ali. It has the inscription of Muhammad wa Ali. Not just that, they get Salman, he says that we got to where Hazrat Sulaiman was buried. When we got there, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he speaks. When he speaks, Nabiullah Sulaiman, he comes alive. And he tells them that this kingdom that I was given only and only because I asked through the name of Muhammad and Ali. This kingdom that I was given only because I asked through the name of Muhammad and Ali. And it was this ring, the narrations, it was through the barakah of this ring, the Muhammad and Ali that was written on the ring that allowed for Hazrat Sulaiman to have that vast kingdom. And you have to remember, it was this same ring that Imam Ali alayhi salam gave as zakat when he was in ruku. It was this same ring. Zakat, do you all know how much zakat is given on? Zakat is given on 1/40th. The 40th. Zakat is given on the 40th. Meaning what? Meaning that, for example, the things that zakat is wajib on. If you have goats, if you have cows, if you have any of these, zakat is give camels, you have to give zakat on these, correct? Zakat is giving on 1/40th. If Imam Ali alayhi salam is giving the ring that gave the kingdom of Sulaiman to him as zakat, that tells you what? That tells you that the kingdom of Sulaiman is 1/40th the size of the kingdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He's giving it as zakat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. He's giving that ring as zakat. And who was the individual? Yes, it says a beggar, but the narration says that it was Jibreel alayhi salam who came as a beggar to see. And it was Jibreel who returned it back to Imam Ali alayhi salam. But this is Imam Ali alayhi salam. And we're still trying to think Imam Ali alayhi salam as what? That was the individual that lived 1400 years ago. His father is Abu Talib. His mother is Fatima bint Asad. No. We need to start now getting away from this. Why? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen himself, in the khutbah, inshallah, tomorrow we'll go over that khutbah al-Marifat bin Nuraniyah, the Nurani aspect of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Salman Farsi and Abu Zar Jaffari, they both come to Amir al-Mu'mineen and they tell Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, can you tell us about your true essence? Can you tell us about your Nurani essence? The first thing Amir al-Mu'mineen tells them is that, yes, I will tell you. Why? Because both of you are not muqassirs. Both of you are not those individuals that lower my status. So that means what? Amir al-Mu'mineen would only divulge his secrets to those individuals that were truly worthy of hearing those secrets. He goes, anyone, tomorrow inshallah we'll go in depth into that sermon, anyone who recognizes me through my nur has truly recognized Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone that recognizes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has recognized my nur. What does that mean? To recognize the nur of Imam Ali alayhi salam is to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the Holy Prophet himself, he says that no one recognized Imam Ali except for Allah and me. No one recognized me except for Ali and Allah. And no one recognized Ali except for me and Allah. Why? Because they recognized what that nur was. How can you not recognize? Nur will recognize nur. Nur will recognize nur. If the nur is connected, then it will be able to recognize. What do I mean? The souls, they say about the souls, for example. Anyone, if you see the Imam in your dreams, you can ask. If you're able to see the Imam in your dreams, that means what? That your soul is connected to the Imam. Your soul is connected to the Imam. That's why you're able to see them in the dream. When your soul is connected to the Imam and you're able to see him, even though he's not physically here, that tells you what? That his soul and your soul are somewhat connected. Somewhat connected. And when it comes to the Shias, what do the narrations state about the Shias? We Shias are created from the teen, the dust that was left over from the creation of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We Shias, our bodies were created from the dust that was left after the creation of the bodies of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That's why our teenat, our bodies, or that's why we are connected to the Ahlul Bayt. Why? Because we come from what was left over. The nur of the Holy Prophet and the nur of Imam Ali alayhi salam, they come from the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because all three of those nurs are the same, not the same in the sense that, not the same in the sense that the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the nur of Imam Ali, not in that sense. That hierarchy. In that hierarchy, the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nur of the Holy Prophet, nur of Imam Ali alayhi salam. This hierarchy exists there. The first nur that was created was the nur of the Holy Prophet. After the Holy Prophet, he was doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The nur of Amir al-Mu'mineen was taken out from the nur of the Holy Prophet. This is the reason that the Holy Prophet, and this is the only reason that the Holy Prophet's status is greater than Amir al-Mu'mineen's. Why? Because his nur was doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala longer than Amir al-Mu'mineen. That's it. That's why he was given that prophethood. That's why he was given that status of the final messenger. To the point where the angels used to say, when Amir al-Mu'mineen, or when the Holy Prophet went on Miraj, every time he'd go to the sky, the angels, they'd welcome the Holy Prophet. When he goes to the first sky, the angels, after praying, the angels, they come to the Holy Prophet, they congratulate the Holy Prophet, and they ask the Holy Prophet one thing. They go, Ya Rasulullah, can we ask you for one thing? And the Holy Prophet himself, he says that, I thought they were going to ask me, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them. But no, they don't ask me this. He goes, what do you want? They say, Ya Rasulullah, when you go back down to earth, when you go back down to earth, can you send our salams to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. He goes to the second sky. The angels, they ask for the same thing. When you go back to earth, can you send salam to Ali ibn Abi Talib? The third sky, can you send salam? Can you send salam all the way to the seventh sky? When he gets to the seventh sky, the angels in the seventh heaven, they say to the Holy Prophet, when you go back down, can you send salam to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? That's when the Holy Prophet, he asked all of them, do you know what our true ma'rifat is? When he gets to the seventh heaven, he asks the angels in the seventh sky, do you know what our true ma'rifat is? And the angels, they say, Ya Rasulullah, how can we not? How can we not? We know we were created after the creation of your nur. We were created after the creation of the nur of the Ahlul Bayt. We used to see you in the nurani sphere, in the nur, doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know what your true existence is. But you're here. When you go back, can you send salam to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? And they themselves, they say, look, we wanted to see Amir al-Mu'mineen to such an extent that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create an angel that looks like Ali ibn Abi Talib. And what do? We look at that angel just so we can get the sawab of looking at Ali ibn Abi Talib. The narration that a respected scholar recited yesterday. We're just looking at the face of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is ibadat. And those angels are the ones that said, we want this individual to look like Ali ibn Abi Talib so we can get that respect, so we can get that sawab. The way the angels understand Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam himself, he says that for my wilayah, no one is able to bear this wilayah, no one is able to understand this wilayah except a muqarrab angel, a close or approximate angel, or a Rasul, or that mu'min whose heart has been tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only three, that's it. Look at where Amir al-Mu'mineen is putting those mu'mineen whose heart has been tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the level of Risalat, at the level of Rasuls, and at the level of muqarrab angels. Not just any angel. The angels of proximity. The angels that are holding the arsh. Those angels, the angels of proximity. This is what it means to understand Imam Ali alayhi salam. But when it comes to Imam Ali alayhi salam, I know I don't have much time. I think Salat is 8:05, I believe, 8:04, something around there. But when it comes to Imam Ali alayhi salam, brothers, sisters, the Holy Prophet wanted so much for people to know who Ali was. Why? From the time that he's starting to propagate about Islam, from Dawat al-Ashira, he wants individuals to know about Ali ibn Abi Talib. Till the time he leaves this world, he continues to tell people about who this man is. Yet the ummah of Rasulullah, they reject him. Every step of the way, they were rejecting him. Why? Because of power. Because of power. It came to such an extent where even when he was given power, they wouldn't let him rule in peace. They wouldn't let him rule in peace. Brothers, sisters, the Fajr for the 19th of Ramadan had just ended. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's gone for his prayers, for Fajr prayers. When he goes for Fajr prayers, the narrations, they state that yes, he's the one who did azan. The narrations, they say that when he went into the masjid, he sees Ibn Muljam, he's sleeping during Fajr time. And he's sleeping with his stomach down. Why? Because he's hiding the dagger, he's hiding the sword that he was going to strike Amir al-Mu'mineen with. And that sword wasn't just any sword. The poison that was on that sword, the narrations state that Ibn Muljam, he spent 1,000 dirham to get that type of poison that would affect Amir al-Mu'mineen the most severely. To get the most severe type of poison. That was the poison that Ibn Muljam had applied to his sword. When Imam Ali he sees Ibn Muljam, kicks him and he tells him, wake up for Fajr, it's Fajr time. Ibn Muljam, he wakes up. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he starts his prayer. And the narrations, they state that when Amir al-Mu'mineen got to his sajda, that's when Ibn Muljam alayhi, he struck Amir al-Mu'mineen over the head. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayki ya Siddiqatu Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Sallallahu alayka ya Gharib al-Ghuraba. Ya Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. Brothers and sisters, when Ibn Muljam, he strikes Amir al-Mu'mineen over his head, that's when Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, the narration, they say that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he falls down. When he falls down, he tells Imam Hassan alayhi salam to continue and finish the prayers. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen who wants to make sure that his ummah has even completed his prayer, their prayers, even though he himself has been struck, even though he himself is bleeding. Amir al-Mu'mineen, what are the first words that come out of his mouth? The first words that come out of his mouth after he's been struck is Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. By the Rabb of the Kaaba having succeeded. Why does Amir al-Mu'mineen say this? Why does Amir al-Mu'mineen say Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba? Why? Because the Holy Prophet had told Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, it's going to be the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's going to be the night of Qadr. And I see that your beard has been dyed by your blood. Amir al-Mu'mineen himself, he used to hope that he would be shaheed in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now that he's shaheed in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's when he says Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. Brothers and sisters, the narrations, they state that Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, they take Amir al-Mu'mineen home. When they take Amir al-Mu'mineen home, Lady Zainab Salawat Allah, she sees Amir al-Mu'mineen and she starts to cry. But before she sees Amir al-Mu'mineen, the narrations, they say that Jibreel, he himself, he calls from the sky, Alaqad qutila Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Jibreel himself, he shouts from the sky that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib has been killed. When Lady Zainab hears this, the narrations, they state that Lady Zainab and Lady Kulthum, they hear this voice and they start to cry. When Imam Ali comes home, Lady Zainab, she sees Amir al-Mu'mineen and she asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, oh father dear, who is it that has struck you? Lady Zainab, when she is crying, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he looks at Lady Zainab and he himself, he starts to cry. When he starts to cry, Lady Zainab, she asks Imam Ali, oh father dear, why is it that you're crying? Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at Lady Zainab and he says, oh my daughter Zainab, I'm crying because I see what will happen to you. Lady Zainab, she says to Imam Ali, oh my father, what will happen to me? Oh my daughter Zainab, I see that you will come back to the city, but when you come back to the city, your hands will be tied. When you come back to the city, Hassan will not be there. When you come back to the city, Hussein will not be there. That's when Lady Zainab, she tells Imam Ali, oh father dear, how will I be a captive and come to this city when I have a brother such as Abbas? That's when Imam Ali, he looks at her and he says to her, oh my daughter, Abbas will not be there also. Brothers, sisters, it's the 19th, it's the 20th of Ramadan. The people of Kufa have come. Why? Because the doctor has told Amir al-Mu'mineen, the people of Kufa, that the only thing that might help Amir al-Mu'mineen is milk. The people of Kufa, they've come with milk. When they've come with milk, they knock on the door. When they knock on the door, Imam Ali, he tells Abul Fazl Abbas, Ya Abbas, go see who's by the door. Abul Fazl Abbas, he goes at the door and he says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, the people of Kufa have come here with milk and they want to give you milk. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells Abul Fazl Abbas to accept that milk. When he brings that milk, Amir al-Mu'mineen, what does he do? He tells Abul Abbas to set that milk down and he kisses Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi's arms. When he kisses his arms, the narrations, they say that Al-Baleen, she sees this and she asks Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was born, you also kissed his arm. And every time when I see you, you're always kissing his arm. That's when Imam Ali, he says to her, Ya Al-Baleen, you will not be there, but there will come a time when my son Abbas, he will sacrifice both of these arms for my son Hussein. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wal-la'natu ala qawmil kafirin.